Let's jump in the car, drive it all night till we go too far. Flirting and laughing and singing out loud. That backseat'll feel like the top of a cloud. Baby, let's let our hair down and love like we used to, when the world was just me and you. Run wild like it's brand new. Go crazy, baby. Let's love like we used to. This everyday life tries to get in our way, stealing our time, but you know what I think. The answer is simple as the moon and the stars, a blanket, some wine, and a long heart-to-heart. Sounds like a good place to start. Let's love like we used to, when the world was just me and you. Run wild like it's brand new. Let's go crazy, baby. Let's love like we used to. Let's rediscover, baby, uncover the passion we shared. I know it's still there.
I have the privilege, but let me read this first. You hear that? That's a piece of paper I have in front of me, okay? Jackie Arredondo, our artist spotlight of the week, was born in Havana, Cuba. Her parents were both singers and actors. She was raised in Florida. She studied music and acting. She has a career as a vocal coach, but here is what gets me, because I'm just kind of that kind of guy, right? She is a truck driver, an 18-wheeler truck driver, which, according to her words, and we'll let her explain that, changed her life. Ladies and gentlemen, help her introduce him to the world. This is Jackie Arredondo. Hi, Jackie.
Hi, Jim. Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be on your show, and I appreciate so much that you've made space for me and for my music, and allow me to show your listeners what I do, and I love what I do. So I love to share it with people, and thank you for opening another avenue for me.
Oh, please, it is our pleasure. All right, now there's so much that we could talk about, and we could jump right in. But why don't you just, like I said, this is your interview, not mine. You were raised in Florida, Miami, right? So take it from there.
Yes. I came when I was 3 years old to the United States, and I came with my mother and my brother and sister, and I studied here. When I became of age, just to clear your question on the truck driving, when I became of age...
Yes, I love that question.
Life was tough, and, things were hard, and one of the jobs that fell in my lap was driving an 18-wheeler. And I'm an adventurer. I don't if it's work and it's decent work, well, let's go for it. And I didn't really have a choice, and I am so I'm so glad that I didn't say no, because on my first route, I think I had passed I don't know, maybe Jupiter or St. Augustine in Florida, and the radio became an audiobook for me. Because when all these country songs started coming out, I thought I was actually listening to a book. And I fell in love with country music driving an 18-wheeler. And it did change a little bit of the course of my taste in music. I love lyrics. I love real stories, and I'm proud to do music that is true to itself, and it can't be fusioned. It can't be changed. Country music is about real stories. It's real music, and I'm so proud that I was introduced with the genre on the road. So that's to clear that question. Yes, I was a former truck driver, and actually, I'm a member of a fraternity that is called the Sisterhood of Mother Truckers, and we're all
go
either former or current lady truckers.
That is absolutely awesome. Because I too come from a very humble background, and I'm very thankful for everything that I have. Now, what I found fascinating about, like I said, it was almost like with your parents and even your grandfather. I believe I read where he was like the number one comedic actor there in Cuba.
Yes.
The way I look at it is.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was going to say the way I look at it is.
You're breaking up.
I am breaking up.
Yeah, I got you.
Okay, good. Anyway, when we do this live, it is live. The thing about it is, you come from a very prominent, if you will, background. But what I loved about your story was the fact that, you, as you just said, you end up driving because you had to. It was one of those situations in life where you do what you have to do. And because of that, it gave you a whole new avenue, in your case, a new genre. And I have to tell everybody, you're actually, I was reading something, you are actually considered pop country Latino. Wow, what is that? Yes. That is great.
Yes, and I'm going to tell you why. I mean, I have to stay true to my roots, and I wanted to introduce my kind to that wonderful genre, but I didn't want to change anything of it. I didn't want to change the elements. So what I did is all the translations in Spanish, because I have all the songs released in Spanish, are written by me, and I wanted to keep exactly the same phrasing, even though you can't really twang Spanish, but you can give it that
okay.
that special phrasing that country music has to keep it true to your ear, and all the elements are the same. I mean, "Let Me Fall," which you just heard, it's exactly the same in Spanish, and I was lucky enough to be the first Latina artist to introduce a steel guitar in national television, national Hispanic television. So that was a treat.
Well, you talk about that, Jackie. You've had success with the Latin market, and you've been featured on 9 different reality shows.
11.
Oh, is it 11 now? Okay, by my research.
11 now.
And you're actually you've been a vocal trainer for numerous multi-platinum, megastars. Please toot your own horn. Tell the world who you've helped with their voice.
Well, I thought Talia is Tommy Mottola's, which was who discovered and married Mariah Carey back in the day. She's a very, very famous Latin Mexican artist. I've trained most of them have been Hispanic mega artists. For example, I've worked with Emilio Estefan. I've taught artists for Puff Daddy, P. Diddy Combs.
Wow.
I have also continued to coach artists for Tommy Mottola. I've worked with every single label in the Hispanic music industry, and it's funny because after times are tough and you decide to go get on a truck, you kind of lose a little bit of faith and say, I said, okay, well, I love country music. I'm Latina. I live in the East Coast. That'll go very well. So I kind of lost a lot of faith, because I was saying, how am I gonna go that route if I'm all the way over here and, in the little point of Florida? But later on, as the years went by, I continued to put my voice in collaboration, being background singer for numerous demos. I think my voice has been on every single album for artists that were airing at that time, and that allowed me to to form a serious relationship with producers and promoters and record executives. And after that, while I was pursuing obviously a musical career, I was still in college, and my teachers started sending me students against my will, and I'm saying, like, what are you doing? And they said I had a gift. I thought they were on something. So I never in my wildest
Here you
dreams,
go. You want some?
I was saying, you guys, what did you take? And they said to me, you will not realize it now, that you have something special that instructors and communicators wish to have, which is to be understood. And you don't have to really work too hard to do that. So they started sending me students against my will, and there was this gentleman, pardon?
No, I didn't say anything.
Oh, there was this gentleman that called me for 45 days, and I just didn't want to answer the phone call because I thought my teachers were crazy. Well, finally, I answered his phone call, and I started teaching him, and from him came 30 students.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, it was, I guess it was my path, you know. It's God telling me, this is what I want you to do for now, and we'll see what happens later. So, that's how I became a vocal coach. And at that time, I was recording a lot of demos as a background singer for Sony Music Latin. And of course, as soon as all the studios learned that I was teaching, then came special projects and so forth. And then Sony Music Latin approached me to coach all the rough talent from the street. I had dancers that had never sung, singers that had never danced, and then I had deadlines of 2-3 weeks. And
oh my gosh.
I was going nuts and saying, why aren't they understanding me? Why are they not understanding me? I mean, I'm teaching them exactly what I need to teach them. Well, to make a long story short, I designed my own method because the old method for recording artists does not work because it takes too long. So I figured out that if I felt something, they had to feel it too. So if I sung and I said, okay, so I feel it right here in this area inside, you know, the lower part of your abdomen, or it's like if you were going down a slide, you know, if you want to slide in the note. And they started understanding me, and I developed something that was called singing by sensation. Later on, it became the Jackie Arredondo singing method.
Ooh, you go, girl.
You sing by sensation. And that was what my teachers were trying to tell me all along. Well, that led me to have the nickname of the Crazy Cuban. And,
you know, you should put a badge of honor with that.
And Sony Music Latin then approached me once again and brought me to the table to the first reality show that was aired for the Hispanic networks in 2002. That was called Protagonistas de la Música, o sea, music protagonists. And from there on, it's been 11. I've worked for all the major stations. I've worked for Telemundo. I am currently working with Univision for the highest rating variety show for over 25 years, and I've done 4 series for them. Plus the other reality shows. I've done the Search for Menudo, for the new Menudo. I did Emilio Estefan's Voices of America. I mean, there's so many sometimes that I forget. So that's my story as a vocal coach. I didn't look for it. It just fell on my lap. And once you begin to know people that know people that know people.
Sure, I understand that.
I came across this gentleman that managed me for a while, and he asked me. One day he said, you know, I heard this song on the not on the radio, on YouTube, and it had a beautiful collage of pictures of you, and I don't know who the singer is. I go, well, let me hear that. I didn't even know that there was a collage with a song, you know, my pictures.
Right.
So I went in and I said, that's me. he says, "That's you? But that's country music." Oh yeah, it's what I love to do. So how? So then when I told him that I was a truck driver, he said, your story is very interesting. Why don't we give it a shot? I said, you are so crazy. I mean, I'm a Latin. I live in the East Coast, and he says, there are no impossibilities. So what about if we at least try? So I guess, well, go. I mean, I'm game. And in one of my touring in El Salvador, there was this gentleman that approached me and was the one that actually was the link to Nashville. And that's how I got to Nashville. When I get to Nashville for the first CRS, which is the Radio Programmers Convention, I was all by myself. I had nobody there with me. I didn't know anybody. And, but I talk to everybody. I'm not afraid to say, hi, how are you? The weather's nice, so I like your
Sure,
show.
yeah. Well, I've been accused of that too. Right.
So, I got there and I made some connections. And I made a connection with a producer that we joint ventures, and we did the first 3-song EP. And it's funny because on that trip, he says, you know what, I need you to come with me a minute because I need to pick up some songs, and I need to pick up some songs from Brian White. And I said, okay. So we went. I met Brian White.
I was going to ask you actually by Brian, music. So yeah, that's good.
I heard his music, but I had already recorded my 3 songs, and I couldn't record 3 more. So the producer that I was with wrote his number on a napkin, and when we went back to the hotel, he says, can you put this on the computer, because I really, I don't know how to function with this Mac and stuff. And I said, sure. So once he put the phone number in his phone, he recorded the phone number in his phone, he threw away the napkin. So when he left, I picked up the napkin, so I actually stole the napkin, and then I asked for forgiveness.
I love it. I love it.
Lord, forgive me. I know this is wrong. He threw it out, so I'm not technically. I am.
That is correct. You're right.
Anything.
That's right.
So 2 years after that passed, and I held on to that napkin for 2 years. And when I was good and ready, we just called him out of the blue, and I did tell him I stole the napkin, though. Not yet. I think I told him, but I'm not faster. And today he always, he toasts with me all the time and says, boy, am I glad you stole that napkin. So it was a good thing. And that was the result of Just Call Me Jackie, which is the EP that you're playing. And it was a fantastic collaboration. And we named it Just Call Me Jackie because on every single radio station while I was touring, sometimes it's very hard to pronounce my last name, which is Arredondo. And they would always say, okay, before we start the interview, I just want to get this right. It's right. Arredondo. And I said, yeah, but just call me Jackie. And I said that so many times that when we said, so what are we going to call the album? Everybody goes, just call me Jackie. That's how the title came to be.
Well, it's kind of funny because I kind of have the same thing. My last name is Letterly, and you look at it phonetically. That is what it is. I thought I've always been called everything but that, and so I started going around just being called JJ, just Jim, and so that's where I come up with JJ. So it's kind of erotic how that works.
Well, we have that in common. What do you know?
So anyway, you were talking about Brian White and being an East Coast girl, being Latino to boot, going into Nashville. And how did that leap happen? What made you, because you said you didn't have anyone, you didn't know anyone in Nashville, and you showed up and ta-da, here you are now on the radio going out to the world. What happened?
Well, I had hired a promoter that was based out of Nashville, whom I never met. It was just pure phone call, and he just promoted my music, and it was just everything was via phone. And he was the one that told me, Jackie, I think you need to go to CRS because it's a very important event, and that's how I got there. But when I went, I didn't have anybody to go with, so I just said, well, the Lord is with me, and I just went off.
Amen.
And you got to have a little faith. So I was already in the loop, and it was so wonderful because at that time I had a single. The first single that actually aired through the waves was Insane. And when obviously I don't know the faces of these DJs, but they know my face. And I felt so good because I was all by myself, but I really wasn't, because I would get stopped a lot of times anywhere where I would walk, and they would say, "Hey, Insane, you're Jackie Arredondo." I go, "I could not believe you remember that last name." And man, your song is great. And I go, "Oh my God, I'm so honored. I'm so grateful that you're playing my song and that you actually remember my last name." So it wasn't all that bad because I felt that I really wasn't alone, because all these DJs knew me. So I think that if that wouldn't have happened, I guess I would have felt a little bit maybe uncomfortable or lonely.
Sure.
Like a pea in a pod, but I was getting a lot of love and a lot of support, and I ended up making a lot of friends, and actually I was only, I guess, the first quarter of the first day I was by myself, and then after that I was all surrounded by people, and it was a wonderful experience.
Well, Jackie, you've made a wonderful experience for all of our listeners around the world. We appreciate so much you hanging out with us and just telling your story, because myself as well, I grew up in the hills of Missouri, as we call them, and we didn't have a pot to pee in, as they would call it. But, I never knew that. My parents made sure that we didn't know that. I didn't know we were poor until I got older. So,
when you had responsibilities.
Yeah, I hope it makes sense. But, it's the humbleness in you, the story you tell. And I love that. And anyone who has ever listened to me, they know the fact that I love the underdog. I love the person who's willing to put it out on the line and, cross your fingers, say a prayer, and here we go. That is my kind of story, too. And that always just touches me more than you'll ever know. So, Jackie Arredondo, thank you for allowing us to broadcast and talk to you and the world, to all of our troops, indie artists, our first responders, and more importantly, just great listeners of American Veterans Radio. You've already put a smile on my face, and I know you've done that to them as well.
Thank you so very much, Jim. I mean, it means so much to me, especially, having this interview, which is for American veterans, and one of my goals and my dreams is to go play for the troops. I've always wanted to do that, and as if you know me, I won't stop until I do it. So I have a very, very good friend out there in Iraq, and I just and they from there they send me all the support all the time, for my music, and all the guys are just super great, and I just hope that I can return the favor one day, and as once I got somewhere where I felt lonely, I hope that I get to go somewhere and just with a warm heart for these troops that that do so much for our country.
You've already made a difference. You have no idea. How can people get your music, Jackie?
Well, I'm in iTunes. You can do Jackie Arredondo, or go to www.jackiearredondo.com. But in iTunes, if you put my name, or if you put just call me Jackie, you can get
I love that.
Just
Jackie. Just call me Jackie. I love that.
And for those who watch Univision and are Spanish-speaking individuals, I'm on every Saturday on a show that's called Sábado Gigante in Univision as a expert member of the expert panel, and also as a vocal coach. and it's a segment within the variety show that is like a mini American Idol, but for the Hispanic network. So you can tune in Eastern time. It's 8 p.m. every Saturday from here to May.
Jackie, that is phenomenal. You guys, you heard that? You know, I speak a little Spanish. I mean, when I say little, a little Spanish. So I'm going to have to sit there and just look at her because I don't know. But anyway, but Jackie, thank you so much. And by all means, know that you always have a home on American Veterans Radio. Anytime you have new music, we'll play it to their troops around the world. And you are just you're such a bright spot. So I wanted to say thank you for that.
Thank you. I'm off to Nashville tomorrow, where I leave my heart every time that I come to Florida, and I'm going to record my next single, which is called "Where You Are," and you will soon have a copy of that. So hopefully, we can share with all our troops and all your listeners, and just share a little bit of another side of me, a sweeter, more subtle, sublime.
Well,
side.
I look at your photograph, and you don't strike me as being one who backs down from anything. just saying, as they would say. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, our artist spotlight of the week, Jackie Arredondo. Thank you so much, and ladies and gentlemen.